I have read a document from the Ministry of Economic Affairs of the Netherlands called Energy Report Transition to Sustainable Energy, written back in September 2013. I think there are many things that we can take away from the Netherlands Energy Report. It can help to provide a framework or a checklist to ensure important elements are covered in our push to a considered environmental policy. For me, the three main takeaways are: 1. A practical framework for progressing environmental policy, though there might be things we want to add to it, such as agriculture. 2. A mechanism to create a network and conversation between divergent and meaningful groups, such as local government, businesses, and NGOs, non-governmental organizations. It also indicates a bottom-up push that, as part of the solution, they are committed to pushing international agreement even further. For us, at the local level, it would mean pushing national agreements further, as well as pushing for the development of investment into new solutions to climate change. This makes it feel as though the Netherlands are not simply doing the minimum necessary to comply with regulations, but are oriented to the goal of doing something positive to help our endangered future. And 3. Making the most of the economic opportunities. Development of the benefits that environmental innovation could constitute a strong incentive beyond preventing global ruin. So let's start off with 1. A practical framework for progressing environmental policy. One of the document's main principles is the reduction of CO2 and how the Netherlands intends to make this happen. The Netherlands report splits its strategy into 4 main areas. 1. Energy conservation, finding ways to use less energy by preventing waste and being more energy efficient. Insulating homes would come under this category. 2. A move to clean energy production using energy creation from wind, solar, and possibly nuclear instead of fossil fuels that releases emissions into the environment. 3. Carbon capture and storage, extracting the large amounts of carbon we have already put into the atmosphere. 4. Biomass. I think this means burning fuels other than fossil fuels where extremely high temperature production is still required. An example might be iron and steel plants where pre-processed biomass could offset 57% of CO2 emissions. The Netherlands report recognises that different strategies are required for different uses of energy, that being 1. Energy for space heating, like heating a home. 2. Energy for industrial process heating. 3. Energy for transport. And 4. Energy for power and light. I imagine that includes energy for household appliances such as your television and computer. So combining these 2 sets of categories, I think we can get a checklist for what our local government should be doing. As an example, energy conservation for space heating relates to insulation and heat pump solutions. We might ask whether local government is doing enough to promote insulation and heat pump installation. What could be done for energy conservation in terms of industry and agriculture? The Netherlands report goes into great detail about energy for space heating, for industrial process heating, and for transport, as well as for power and light, which I'll cover in a moment. Energy for space heating is subdivided into homes, other buildings, greenhouses, and tap water. The Netherlands report points out that European agreements ensure all new buildings are practically carbon neutral by the end of 2020. Has this happened? Additionally, all buildings will have an A-label average score by 2030. What is the roadmap to ensure that this is happening? The Netherlands report recognises insulation and solar panel strategies are already being implemented by homeowners. and plans that future local heat generation will occur using heat pumps, solar boilers, district heating, which will include residual heat. I think that is using surplus industrial heat, geothermal heating, and biogas, amongst other solutions. One thing that the report points out is that this needs to happen at a local level, as decisions depend on local conditions and preferences. This will give you a made-to-measure solution. It also, of course, means a greater role for local authorities, building managers, property developers, and residents. This will be supported by national government. Do we have this level of support from national government in this country? Energy for industrial process heating is a harder problem to tackle, as the current state-of-the-art processes need an overhaul. The Netherlands report considers refineries, chemical manufacture, metallurgical manufacture, and the paper industries. Can we track how this is progressing in industry in our country? The Netherlands aim to tackle the problems through development of low temperature processing, electrification, more efficient use of steam production, residual heat in industry clusters, combined with carbon capture and storage. The report also wants to highlight the possibility of significant benefits by tackling these issues. I will come back to the benefits in the benefits section. It also looks at the division of responsibility. That I will come back to in the mechanism to create a network and conversation between divergent and meaningful groups in that section. Energy for transport. The Netherlands report points out that we really need that fundamental change in moving to electric vehicles or the use of liquid biofuels. Other energy for transport measures has a limited effect. Things like improve energy conservation, sustainable driving habits, car sharing, using lighter materials, and more efficient engines. So again, my question is, are we doing enough to promote these changes locally? I imagine we need things like ensuring there's enough charging points. Energy for power and light have two aspects: electricity generation that is more sustainable, and devices and lights that are more efficient. However, to get this, we need a change in infrastructure, which needs organisation and consultation to move forward. More generally, for carbon reduction, there is a commitment not to rule out any low carbon solution as long as it's safe, reliable and affordable. Though I wonder if what is defined as reliable and affordable could be used unfairly to harm the use of carbon solutions. The Netherlands have made a commitment for no new coal-fired power plants. We could reuse this commitment for any new venture that does not do its best to limit its harm to the environment. The Netherlands report has a pragmatism to use natural gas as an intermediate step as a comparatively clean fuel. Again, you would not want this pragmatism to be a delaying tactic for preferred environmental solutions. So that was the practical look at carbon reduction. The second thing that impressed me from the Netherlands report was the focus on creating a network and conversation between divergent and meaningful groups to address climate change. These groups include local authorities, the public, businesses, knowledge and development experts, and non-governmental organisations, NGOs. There was to be an energy dialogue. All parties get the opportunity to share their own vision on the supply of energy and contribute to the design of the solution. The Netherlands see this as essential in setting policy. After this dialogue, centrally there will be an evaluation of ideas suggested, the strict controls suggested, the involved parties' contribution to low CO2 energy supply, and how they are to strengthen the economic structure. The central evaluation will consider the involved parties' compliance with the requirements. The dialogue promotes action and strives to get agreement. It advertises the needs for action. It delegates responsibility and recruits involvement. Making the most of the economic opportunities would provide a strong incentive to push through with what could otherwise be a difficult transition. Some people might think that the attempt to prevent significant amounts of death and suffering should be enough of an incentive. However, making improvements to life will add a carrot to the stick that will hopefully turn human action around from being so self-destructive. Categories of benefits. There are 4 categories of benefits. Finding opportunities for new and existing businesses, such as the development of wind farms. A longer-term benefit for efficiency savings with improved processes and innovation. Applying economic incentives to businesses through schemes such as the Emissions Trading Scheme, ETS, where businesses that successfully transition can sell their emission savings to greenhouse gas emitting bodies such as countries, companies, and manufacturing plants. Finally, in showing that there is no place for businesses that fail to transition in the low carbon economy. How can innovations be encouraged? By strengthening the organisation of networking between business at a national and international level, strengthening networks between knowledge institutes and the government, and improving government understandings of foreign markets and products. Government could be included in all levels of technological development to implement them as soon as possible. What we could do with this information is to ask, is this happening in our area? If it is not, we can highlight the possibility or highlight the authority that is failing to act.